I feel like I know less about Virginia Tech than any team in the league. And part of it's because Carolina hasn't played them, and it's now the very end of the season, and they haven't played them yet. And part of it is I feel like I haven't seen them very much, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if just their schedule and Carolina's schedules matched up, so we haven't had an opportunity to watch them when the Tar Heels weren't playing or something like that. They haven't had a great year. I mean, they're 13-16, which is obviously below 500. 8-10 in league play. They have won 2 of their last 3 games, but that was at Miami and then a big comeback to beat Syracuse in overtime at home. They were competitive with Louisville earlier this past week. That was a tie game or a 1 or 2 point game or something down the stretch, and Virginia Tech turned it over in their final 2 possessions and ended up losing by 5. I can't remember the guy's name, but they were betting, that's a bad way to put it, they were relying heavily on a transfer from Temple to be one of their top players, and he is in the middle of being investigated for betting on games while he was at Temple. And so obviously he wasn't going to play this year once that came out. So they lost a key piece that they were not anticipating losing right before the season began, which obviously is going to impact any team. Toby Lawal is a VCU transfer, and he leads them in both scoring and rebounding. He just looks like a basketball player. He's 6'8", long arms, long legs, just lanky, jumpy guy who's a good player. I mean, he's averaging 12.5 and 7, and has been their best guy in total this year. Elijah Petit is a solid post player, not huge numbers, but certainly capable down low, a transfer from Rice that's been in their program for a year or two now. They have a bunch of freshmen and a bunch of transfers. Remember, they had some guys cycle out. I mean, even last year, Padula and Couture and somebody else was still there who had been there for a while. But they have transferred out, graduated, whatever. So they have a lot of freshmen and a lot of transfers. Ben Burnham is a transfer as well from College of Charleston. He's had some nice moments. Jaden Shute is a transfer from Duke. He's had some nice moments. Brandon Recksteiner is a young sophomore guard, has had some nice moments. But, Adam, this is another game, the final game in this stretch, where I think Carolina's the better team. This Tar Heel team still has to go absolutely play well to have an opportunity to win. It is the senior night in Blacksburg, final home game for them on the season. Mike Young, I think, is a good coach, and Blacksburg's a hard place to play. It just is. And so it's going to take a quality performance from Carolina. Again, I do think the Heels are the better team, but they have to continue to do these things that they've been doing here as of late to go in there, get a win, and start focusing in on what happens after that.
You are going to have to beat them. They're not going to just give in a way that I think Miami did. They haven't beaten very many good teams. They haven't beaten anybody better than 90th in KenPom. That was Florida State. They've lost to basically every good team they've played. They turned the ball over a bunch. So, as we know from Dean Oliver Jones, if you can get some live ball turnovers, then Carolina's got a chance to get out in transition and score a bunch of points, which they have been doing lately to the tune of averaging over 90 a game in the last 5. So got to get turnovers. They shoot the 3 a lot, and that is a big part of their offense. So you've got to defend the 3-point line. If you can cut off the 3-point line and you can get turnovers, you have a chance to win this game comfortably. So that is what Carolina will have to do.
And they average 13 turnovers a game, which is a good 3 more than the Tar Heels per game. And the Tar Heels have kind of been up and down turnover-wise. I mean, when you're thinking 3 every single game, that's a pretty decent amount. The 3-point shooters, they do have some good ones. Lawal doesn't shoot it a ton, but he's at 39%, shoots at 36%. Burnham's at 44%. Ben Hammond is a has started some, has been in reserve some. He doesn't shoot a lot, but he shoots at 48%. So, I mean, they have some guys who can hit threes and get hot, and that is a gym where you can feel the momentum in Blacksburg if the home team starts making some shots. It's difficult in Castle Coliseum in that way. So that is 7 o'clock tonight, Carolina and Virginia Tech. Tar Heels trying to extend this winning streak to 6 in a row and get their 20th win in the season, which was not a guarantee a couple weeks ago. And so it would certainly be, while not as impactful as it was in like 1986 to get to 20 wins, I do think that would be a small feather in the cap of this team, which, and Adam, I said this on the broadcast on Saturday, and we may have said it in the podcast, I can't remember. And seeing Miami is what made me think of this. I give credit to Carolina and give credit to Hubert Davis and his staff. This season could have gone completely off the rails. I mean, the Tar Heels were frustrated, not playing well. There have been some stretches. I mean, the Stanford game, the at Pitt game, the at Clemson game. I mean, there were some times where there was some disappointment, some frustration after games. This team has stayed together and has been able to come through some of that and play some of its better basketball at the end of the year. We don't know what the ultimate story will be, but I do give credit to Carolina for not letting this thing go sideways and just having it completely tank.
Yeah, you can say, oh, you've won 5 in a row, but you hadn't beaten anybody. This team wasn't capable of beating 5 anybody's a couple months ago. And so to figure out a way to move the pieces around the board, and as we said at the time, like you can't go out and make a trade. You're stuck with the personnel you have. So to figure out a way to utilize that personnel to make it a viable team going into March, I do think they deserve some credit.